refuse to lose. I'm built to win. Apply myself. Refuse to lose. I'm built to win. Apply myself. I felt it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse. Mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like Toby, keep on running toes, they gon' take a few to lose. Built to win, apply myself, I felt it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win. Yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win. Apply myself, I felt it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back with another episode. And today we will be previewing week 6. But before I do that, I would like to ask you like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the channel, it helps the network, it helps my channel, CTC, by way of the Refuse to Lose network. Oh, shoot, my bad. Y'all see it. Anyway, like I said, this is a network. So we have multiple shows on this network. We have the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave every Tuesday and Friday between 7 to 8:30ish. Dave made a return Friday. We have Unfazed every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. Central Time, featuring Joe and AJ. We have BWT, Baseball with Teddy. Both Teddy's Yankees and my Tigers advance to the ALDS, which starts today. So it's gonna be tough to get all that. I'm probably gonna miss the games. I'm not gonna lie, with all this college football, but it's gonna be. It should be fun. Next, we have FFC Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Week 5 has started. So, week 5 has started in fantasy football. So make sure y'all get y'all, waiver wires and tidbits. We have Dave's Doghouse highlights and lowlights of sport. So make sure you check that out. RBO, Real Ballers Only. So make sure you check out that. He should have an episode dropping soon, especially with preseason basketball started. Next, we have In the Red Corner featuring Tomo, Ricky, and Ty. Boxing episodes every other Sunday. So make sure to you check into that as well. We have the Joe Jordan Show, where he just drops off random episodes about topics he want to talk about. So make sure y'all be on the lookout for that. And I believe that's all the episodes we have on the network. So make sure y'all tune in, like, comment, subscribe as well. If you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Now, I also got to go over my pick'em record. So my current record is 47-27. Last week, we went 7-7. We went 500. That was I say that's pretty decent. I'm hoping to go better this week. But stay tuned. We got an action-packed week. But let's get into it. But before we do that, actually, one more time, we do got some comments I got to go over. So first, shout out my brother. He says week 6, exclamation point. Yes, sir. I had some good games last night, too. Some really good games. My Western Kentucky Hilltoppers Conference USA pick got the nice dub against Delaware. New Mexico, unfortunately, took the L to San Jose State, throwing 2 interceptions in that game. Actually, 3 interceptions in that game. South Florida gets a blowout win last night against Charlotte. And San Diego State gets a blowout win last night against Colorado State. Also, BYU blows out West Virginia as well. But yeah, Joe says new setting. New setting today. I'm currently at my mother's house because it is her birthday today. So shout out Dukes. It's her birthday. We're actually going out to eat later. So again, shout out Dukes for that. And he said Teddy picked the Guardians. He did not pick the Guardians. Teddy actually picked us to win that. He picked the Tigers. He picked the Mariners in the ALDS, but he didn't pick the Guardians to win that series. Speaking of Teddy, shout out my boy, baseball with Teddy. He says, yo, what up, my guy? And then Joe says, happy birthday to Dukes. Appreciate it, my boy. Now let's get into week 6. Let's see. And if you're new here, the way I do my previews, I get 5 keys for each team to possibly win the game, and I pick a winner and briefly go over why I picked that winner. And we're going to first start with Iowa State at Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati is 1.5 point home favorites in this game. Iowa State is ranked 14th in the country. So we're going to first start with Iowa State. They got to establish the run. I always said you got to establish Abu Sama and Carson Hansen. You got to establish your 2 backs. You got to establish Rocco Beck. You got to contain Brendan Sorsby on the ground. He's their leading rusher and passer for the Cincinnati Bearcats. So you got to contain his legs as well. Contain Tyree Walker on the ground. Tyree Walker scored the game-winning touchdown at the goal line last week for Cincinnati over Kansas. To me, he's their best back, so you got to contain him as well. Who will step up for Iowa State at receiver? Last week it was Chase Sowell. Who will it be this week? Somebody has to step up. They don't have like guys like last year when they had Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. They don't have those guys. It's like receiver by committee this year. And so who will step up? And you got to protect the football against this team, against the Cincinnati defense. Also, Cincinnati, Dante Corleone is questionable. Big D lineman. He should be back today. But for Cincinnati, they got to stop the run. That is Iowa State's bread and butter. You got to stop the run. You got to get off the field on third downs. Can't allow Iowa State, like Kansas, to sustain long drives, put up a lot of points. You don't want to make this a shootout if you're Cincinnati. If you're Cincinnati, you got to establish Tyree Walker. Contain Rocco Beck's legs because Rocco Beck can run the football and he is dangerous in open space. And you got to get the ball to Cyrus Allen, receiver who had a game last week against Kansas. But my winner, even though Jeremiah Cooper is out yet again for Iowa State, I am picking Iowa State. Why? I don't know, if I trust Cincinnati's offense as much. I know Iowa State is missing pieces. Like I said, Jeremiah Cooper out for Iowa State against Cincinnati. He was out last week against Arizona. But I love Marcus Neal, and he's still out there. He's not a corner. He's more of like a linebacker safety hybrid, but he's a baller nonetheless. Iowa State got pieces on defense. Matt Campbell, defensive coach. Well, he always has a good defense. I'll say that. He always has a solid defense at Iowa State. And I trust that they'll get stops when necessary to beat Cincinnati. A lot of people are on Cincinnati. I'm totally taking the opposite. I'm taking Iowa State in this one. Cincinnati is a very competent offense. They can run the ball, but I want to see what happens if they got to sling the ball around the yard. Against a better defense. Kansas, I feel like defensively is what's holding them back. This Iowa State defense, I think, should do enough to get the job done against Cincinnati on the road to remain undefeated. Joe was like, he meant to say the Mariners. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he picked them. It's all good, though. Next, we got Wisconsin at Michigan. Michigan's 20th in the country. Wisconsin's on the road. This game is 12 o'clock on Fox. Michigan comes into this one 17.5 point home favorites. Now, if you're Wisconsin, you're more than likely going to be without Billy Edwards Jr. So the first thing, however, is you can't allow the Justice Haynes long touchdown run. It seems like it happens every week for Michigan. He breaks a long touchdown run to blow the game open. Well, it didn't blow the game open against Oklahoma. It took the lead, but Oklahoma was able to be resilient. But Wisconsin ain't Oklahoma. They allow that to happen, it's probably game over. Pressure Bryce Underwood. You want to make this a low-scoring game. You want to force turnovers because that's going to be real big, especially I think your offense is going to be real subpar today. So you want to force a lot of turnovers. And you want to establish the run, especially to help out your backup quarterback. Now, if you're Michigan, you just want to run Justice Haynes. Hope you get that big run. Hope he breaks the game open. Hopefully, you don't rely too much on Bryce Underwood. But Bryce Underwood does have to be efficient with the football. He has to complete passes. I would say get Bryce Underwood a lot of quick game. I don't think Michigan receivers are dangerous to say. You got to put a point. So if you're Michigan, you want to score because that defense is too good for that Wisconsin offense. So if Michigan putting up points, this will lead to a blowout. You want to force third and longs, especially with a backup quarterback. And with a backup quarterback, you want to force some turnovers. And my winner is Michigan. I'm going with Michigan in this because I think defensively they'll be able to rattle Wisconsin. I think Michigan would be able to establish the run. I think they will run the ball at a very efficient rate where they will barely have to pass the ball. And I think they put up a lot of points, forcing Wisconsin to chase, and that will leave them susceptible to turnovers and stuff like that. So give me Michigan in this one. And that's enough for 12 o'clock. We move on to 3:30, where we got a big matchup, Joe. Texas, ranked 9th in the country, which is very surprising to me. I'm not going to lie. Like, oh, we didn't talk about the polls. We'll talk about the polls at the end of the episode. Texas is 9th in the country. At Florida, 3:30 on ESPN. Texas comes to this one as 4.5-point favorites. Now for Texas, first of all, Arch Manning has to play a lot better. I don't know if it's injury. I don't know if that's just who he is, but he has to play a lot better against this Florida defense. Pressure DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway on the season right now is 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Now, most of those came in the LSU game, but still the fact is he's 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Put up points. You got to put up points. Against Ohio State, you only put up 7. Now, I'm not saying Florida defense is Ohio State defense, but Florida defense is very, very talented. Establish the run. Quatravion Wisner should be back from what I saw. I saw he was questionable, and it's too early. You know, college football, they don't be releasing injury notes until like the end of the end. So I forgot to take that down. But yes, that's a 3:30 start, so it's not official whether he's playing or not. And stop Jaden Ball, the running back for Florida. Now, if you're Florida, Lagway has to protect the ball. Again, 5 touchdowns, 6 picks, enough said. Force turnovers. Get yourself in shorter fields. Like I said, you have a really good defense. Pressure Arch Manning. Make them inaccurate. Make them, scramble. Maybe you get them for a sack. Establish Jaden Ball on the ground and get the ball to Ventrell Brown and Trey Wilson. My winner in this matchup in the swamp, the Florida Gators. I'm going with the upset. It's tough to play in that swamp. Florida has a really good defense, and Texas offense has been very lackluster, very underwhelming. While Florida's offense, I feel like it's been underwhelming too, but I do feel like DJ Lagway, if he can be protected, can deliver the football on time and sustain just enough offensive drives to where they win the ball game. I'm really picking Florida in this because 1, Texas is on the road, and 2, Texas offense hasn't shown me anything. They haven't. So I'm basically banking on the Florida defense to have a big night, containing Texas and winning the football game like in a black and blue fashion. Running the football, playing good defense, getting stops. So that's why I'm going with the Gators over Texas in this one. Joe says, Texas fan, Joe, by the way, says, I'm not surprised. And he says, Texas offense has been disappointing. That is facts. So, yep. But we move on to probably the second game of the week. Ooh, did not mean to do that. Second game of the week. First game of the week is going to be later. This is game of the week number 2. 16th ranked Vanderbilt, undefeated Vanderbilt, 5-0. Mind you, again, they're over under, which I'm so mad I didn't take this. I called it disappointing in the preview. Was 5.5 wins. That was their over under win total, 5.5. Takes on Alabama, 4-1, 10th in the country. Now Alabama comes into this one as 11.5-point favorites. Now it might have changed since I did this morning. The line moved this morning from when I bet and from when I woke up. So the line might have moved again. The line actually been moving up and down all week. They started off with Vandy plus 13.5. It got as low, I think, to 10.5. And then it went back up to 12, and now it's at 11. So that line is very vulnerable. But anyway, this game is 3:30 on ABC. Bama comes into this one as 11.5-point home favorites. Vanderbilt got the upset last year at Vanderbilt. So Bama is looking for a little bit of a revenge game at home. Now, if you're Vandy, obviously you got to run Diego Pavia. He is the engine that gets this offense going. Everything runs through Pavia. Contain Jan Miller. Jan Miller made his return last week against Georgia. Had a pretty decent game. Got to contain him. You got to sustain touchdown drives. That's what's been keeping Vanderbilt, going. Like they rarely settle for three. Pavia in this offense convert third downs, fourth downs at a high rate, and they get touchdowns, not field goals. Pressure Ty Simpson, which I still stand on the fact that Ty Simpson is better than what people try to paint him to be in that first game. I still think he played better in that first game than people try to paint it out to be. And he had a pretty solid first half, pretty solid game against Georgia. But Vandy, you got to put pressure on him, and you got to get the ball to Eli Stowers. That's another guy that is the heart and soul, besides Cedric Alexander. But that's another guy that gets the heart and soul of the Vanderbilt offense. Now, if you're Bama, contain Diego Pavia. If you stop Pavia, it's like cutting the head off the snake. The body drops. Force turnovers. Stop the run because that's big in Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a heavy run team, even with Pavia. Establish Jan Miller. And Ryan Williams got to get out of his own head. Ryan Williams has been dropping passes, open passes, all that. He got to get out of his head because Bama's going to need him. I know Jeremy Bernard, very talented receiver, transfer from Washington, very talented. Isaiah Horton, very talented. But they're going to need you, Ryan Williams. You got to get out your head, man. But my winner in this one, I took one upset. I'm taking another one out. Give me the Commodores of Vanderbilt to go 6-0 and make a bowl game early in the season. I'm going with Vanderbilt. Why? Because Clark Lee and Diego Pavia got these boys believing. They got these boys playing out of their mind. And Pavia is just a winner. He's just a winner. He took New Mexico State into Auburn 2 years ago and won that game. He took Vanderbilt and the Commodores at home against Bama, won that game. He took Texas to the wire with Vanderbilt last year. So he's just a winner, man. And that's what he does. Bama, they look susceptible to the run. But I'm going with Vandy, man. I think Vandy gets it done, man. I think Clark Lee and these boys balling right now. They're looking really tough to stop. Offensively, they're on fire. I'm going to take the Commodores of Vanderbilt to win this game. And then Dave says, Vandy been balling. He said, I'm with you on Ty Simpson, but he got Bama. That's fine. I'm going with the upset, man. Give me Vanderbilt. Next, we have 24th ranked Virginia. Did not think I would be saying ranked next to Virginia at all this year. At Louisville. Now, Virginia coming off of a big win at home against Florida State last Friday night. Louisville coming off a comeback win, 17-0 comeback win against Pitt Saturday. Looking to be a good one. This game is 3:30 on ESPN2. Louisville from ESPN, because I'm in Virginia right now, so I can't see Virginia's bet on FanDuel. I normally get my odds for FanDuel, not sponsored, by the way. But in Virginia, you can't bet on Virginia colleges, so I can't see the Virginia schools. So ESPN has them currently as a 6.5-point home favorite against Virginia. So if you're Virginia, Chandler Morris, 3-touchdown day on the ground, you got to run Chandler Morris. But Chandler Morris also had, 2 interceptions? You got to protect the football. Stop Isaac Brown. That's if he's playing. I see he's questionable. He played through injury last week. He was questionable to play last week, but he played through it. I think he's questionable this week. I don't know if he's probable questionable. I can't remember. But I want to say he's questionable this week, so look out for that. Pressure Miller Moss. If you allow Miller Moss to just sit back there and dice you up, it's going to be a long day. And you got to get the ball to Trell Harris and Cam Ross. Trell Harris was huge in Virginia to win last week. Huge. It seemed like he made every third down play that needed to be made. Him and Idris, something like that. Louisville have to start fast. Louisville starts slow a ton. They started slow against JMU. They started slow against Pitt. They start slow a ton. You can't start slow against the Virginia team. Got to start fast. Run Isaac Brown again. That's playing. Miller Moss has to protect the football through a pick six to Rasheem Bowers to go down 17-0. Get Chris Bell and Colin Lacey the ball and force turnovers. Florida State was able to force a ton of turnovers against Virginia. Louisville has to do the same. Am I winner in this one? I'm going with the home team. I'm going Louisville. Why? I think Louisville will be able to run the ball effectively, especially if Isaac Brown is playing. I think that opens up the passing game for Colin Lacey and Chris Bell to get going. And I do think Virginia does get some things going on offense. I do think Chandler Morris has another good game, but I think Chandler Morris turning the ball over will be the thing that bites Virginia in the behind and ultimately allow Louisville to win the game at home. So give me Louisville in this one. And no, Dave, I was not getting at you for UVA in the chat. I was getting on you at UVA on the show. So, like I said on the show, if they have a good season, they get 7 wins, you can talk your talk because me and Ace definitely ain't see it. So shout out to you for that. I will say shout out to you for that one. Because the Florida State game, so I had them being 3-1, I think, up until Florida State, and I thought that's when the season like comes tumbling down. And that Florida State win was huge for them. And so shout out to you. Next, we have Washington at Maryland. This game is 3:30 on Big Ten Network. Washington comes into this one as 5.5-point road favorites against Maryland. Maryland undefeated on the season so far. Now, Washington established Jonah Coleman. Jonah Coleman's just been looking very good this year. He's been balling. Transfer to Arizona, followed his head coach over to Washington. He's having a really, I don't want to say elite, but dang on their elite season. Get Denzel Boston the ball. Pressure Malik Washington, the freshman quarterback who's having a stellar season so far for Maryland. Force third and longs. If you're Washington, I feel like you want to force third and longs because I think they have the defensive firepower to get off the field. Not that Maryland can't convert, because I do like Malik Washington a ton. And run Damon Williams, the quarterback for Washington as well. He's so fast. He adds that extra dynamic to the Washington offense. Now, if you're Maryland, you got to force some turnovers. You're at home. Get the crowd involved. You want to force some turnovers. I gotta take this down. I keep forgetting to take down comments. Establish a run. I think that's going to be big. They got to establish some type of run against Washington. You don't want to be one-dimensional against this team. So you got to establish some type of run. You got to get stops. So here's my thing. Maryland's defense, it's like hit or miss. And it's like within the game. Like I can't really get a read on it. Something tells me it's not. Like I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's like decent. But then I think it can be had. Contain Damon Williams' legs, and Malik Washington's going to have to improvise. I think Washington is going to get pressure on Malik, so he's going to improvise. And I think Malik Washington's pretty good at improvising. I've seen a couple plays where he throws out and he makes throws on the run and stuff like that. So I think he's a pretty solid improviser. But my winner is Washington. Why? I think this is Maryland's first true test. Wisconsin, you knock out Billy Edwards Jr. early in the game. You run him out. You blow him out. Northern Illinois, they're struggling to put up points. They even like they're just struggling to put up points. I can't remember who their first game of the year was, but I don't think it was somebody like good. Normally teams don't start off like that. So I think this is like Maryland's first true test. So we really get to see what the young freshman quarterback is really made of. Washington had a test last week against Ohio State, and I liked what I saw. I mean, it ultimately ended in Ohio State running away with the game, but they were in that game. They got a huge 4th-and-1 stop. I think they had to lead at one point. Jeremiah Smith just took a drag to the crib, which is Jeremiah Smith stuff. That's why you don't want him to touch the ball at all. But yeah, I think Washington is probably a little bit more battle tested than Maryland at this current moment. Oh yeah, they beat FAU. And they beat Towson. Yeah, so this is, to me, Maryland's first real test. So give me Washington to win this game. But I will say I think it is close. And I am thinking about altering this to 7.5, plus 7.5 for Maryland. So that's just something I'm thinking about. But we move on. Texas Tech at Houston. 7 o'clock on ESPN. Now, Texas Tech comes into this one 11th in the country. Both Houston and Texas Tech are both undefeated. Now, Houston, I mean, their best opponent has probably been Colorado, while Texas Tech's best opponent was Utah. And Houston also escaped Oregon State and Corvallis last Friday night. But anyway, Texas Tech is 12.5-point favorites in this game, road favorites. Texas Tech contain Connor Wegman's legs. He is a guy that can run the football. I mean, he was at Texas A&M. He ran the ball. He's running it okay at Houston. Get the ball to Coy Eakin and Caleb Douglas. Caleb Douglas was making spectacular catches against Utah. Stop the run. I think Houston is really predicated on the run. Dean Connors, Stacy Sneed. Like I said, Connor Wegman can run the ball at the quarterback position. Force turnovers. and win the field position battle. The reason why I have those last two is because that was what was big in the Utah game. They were able to force a lot of turnovers, and they won the battle of the field position. And ultimately won the game and ran away with it at that. Houston, pressure Baron Morton. Baron Morton, when he got pressure under him, wasn't able really to be as accurate with the football. So you want to put pressure on him. I did look at the injury report, by the way. He wasn't on it, so I'm just assuming he's playing. Get the ball to Tanner Kozio, your big tight end, your big playmaker, your security blanket. He was leading the receiver at one point and receiving yards. He was leading the team in receiving yards. Jesus Christ, I don't know why it took me that hard to get that sentence out. He was leading the team in receiving yards at one point. It's now Stephon Johnson, who you want to hit him on some deep shots. The speedster, you want to hit him on some deep shots. Use Connor Wigman legs. And you got to establish Dean Connors. You got to find some way to establish the run against the Texas Tech defense. But my ultimate winner is Texas Tech because I think this defense is just too much for this Houston offense. The Houston offense kind of was getting overwhelmed by Oregon State until they figured it out late game. I don't think they figure out this Texas Tech defense. I think Texas Tech just puts them in a bind. I think this offense is able to move down the field on this Houston defense. Even though I like Latrell McCutcheon a lot at cornerback. But I think this Texas Tech team is just too much for this Houston team. I think Texas Tech wins this game. Next, this is a really good Mountain West Conference game right here. UNLV -3.5 at Wyoming, 7 o'clock on CBSN. Now, UNLV escaped Miami of Ohio. I think that was 2 weeks ago. They got to protect the football. Y'all know I'm a Calandria guy, but y'all know I'm not blind to the fact that this man will turn the ball over. So you got to protect the football. Have to get stops. Every team UNLV has played has put up 20 or more points, including Sam Houston. So you got to get stops. Get UNLV. Can UNLV score on this stout scoring defense of Wyoming? Wyoming's scoring defense is really good. They do a good job of bending but not breaking. Now, Utah, they had a tough time scoring in the first half. Second half was a different half for them. But UNLV's got to figure it out early because UNLV's defense ain't necessarily the greatest. Run Jaden Thomas. I don't know why against Miami of Ohio they forgot they had Jaden Thomas, who's probably the best player on the team, if not is the best player on the team. You got to use him and get the ball to Jaden Bradley, your receiver on the outside who just makes plays. Now, if you're Wyoming, you got to make this a low-scoring game. You got to do what you do best and hold team offenses to low amount of points. You got to establish some type of run with the running backs you have. You got to force turnovers. You got to contain Calandria's legs. You got to convert on third downs. And you got to make UNLV kick threes, not score sevens. So my winner in this one, though, is tough. But ultimately, I think UNLV does have the firepower to pull this one out. I'm going with UNLV. But again, I do suspect Calandria to throw a pick in this one. I'm sorry, not sorry. I do think Calandria throws an interception. But I think UNLV offensively has enough, especially if they consistently run Jaden Thomas, to win this ball game in a close one. So give me UNLV to win this game and to remain undefeated. Next, we have Minnesota at number 1 in the country, Ohio State, which I really shouldn't talk about this game, but I'm going to just do it anyway. There's a couple games I didn't want to talk about, but it was like a lack of games for me to talk about. So I wanted to have a decent amount of games on the slate, so I added them. Another game that I really didn't want to talk about was a game I talked about earlier, Michigan, Wisconsin. Really didn't want to talk about that one, but I did it anyway. Anyway, Minnesota, 23.5-point dogs on the road against Ohio State, 7:30 on NBC. Minnesota, can Drake Lindsey have another stellar performance like last week? Absolutely I don't want to say dominant, but he had a great game last week. Will Darius Taylor be back? And will he be back right? Out the last 2 weeks because of a hamstring. It's a 7:30 game, so there's no for certain whether he's playing or not. I saw he was questionable. I'm going to assume he's playing. Make this a low-scoring game if you're Minnesota. Get the ball to Javon Tracy. And always identify what Jeremiah Smith is on the field. You got to do that. You can't lose Jeremiah Smith, or else he will burn you. Now, if you're Ohio State, force third and longs. Make Minnesota consistently convert on third and longs. Contain Darius Taylor. Give Jeremiah Smith the ball. Establish the run and score because that defense of Ohio State will absolutely shut down this Minnesota offense, which is why I'm going with Ohio State to win this game very easily, because they have an elite defense mixed in with the offense who seems like they're starting to pick it up a little bit. Julian Sains, I still like to see more out of him, but I think they do a fine job against the Minnesota defense, and I think Ohio State gets the dub. And we move on to game of the week, in my opinion. Brother says Ohio State blowing them boys out. Yeah, I agree. But we got game of the week. Third ranked Miami University, the Hurricanes at 18th ranked Florida State, 3:30 on 7:30, on ABC, prime time on ABC. Miami, you got to contain Thomas Castellanos' legs. They're, by the way, 4.5-point road favorites in this game. Got to contain his legs. Make Castellanos a drop back passer. Honestly, Florida State don't want to consistently drop back pass. They want to run the football. If you can contain Castellanos, have a spot for Castellanos, not allow him out the pocket, that's a win for you. Run Mark Fletcher. Get Malachi Tony and CJ Daniels the ball and force turnovers. That was big for Virginia. They were able to start the game forcing 2 turnovers, go up 14-0. Florida State, put some pressure on Carson Beck. Maybe he turned the ball over. Roydale Williams and Cam Davis, they're probable and questionable, respectively, to return. So you got to establish the run, whether it's with them, Gavin Sawchuk. Got to establish the run, but help is possibly on the way. 4th, 3rd, and longs. You got to strike first at home. Get that home crowd involved. And last but not least, get Deuce Robinson the ball. He's probably your best receiver. If no, that's not probably. He's your best receiver. Makes contested catches. He makes catches downfield. He makes the short catches. He just does it all. You got to give him the ball. Get Doak Walker excited. The Doak Walker Stadium. Get that joint live. My winner, though, I'm so bad at taking down the comments, bro. Miami. I've been going back and forth with this one because part of me says Florida State wins it. A home game. Rivalry go crazy. But I'm going to go with Miami in a close one. And it's kind of because the fact that Florida State don't really drop back, throw the ball, and Miami has a really elite defense with Heatherman as the DC. But, like, I don't know. I still don't know if I can trust Carson Beck in this type of environment. But I'm going to roll with Miami. I'm going to roll with Miami in this one. The defense should be elite. I think Miami should be able to establish the run against this Florida State defense. If Jamari Taylor had a great day establishing the run. Now, Carson Beck ain't the athlete that Chandler Morris is, but Mark Fletcher, tough, hard-nosed runner to bring down. I think that's going to be big. And Miami has better weapons on the outside than Virginia. So give me Miami in a close one. Like, I might alter this to Florida State plus 7.5 too. But I'm taking Miami Hurricanes. Next, we have Mississippi State. Lost a heartbreak last week to Tennessee. On the road, taking on Texas A&M at Cal Field, 12th man. Texas A&M is 16.5-point favorites on 7:30 on the SEC Network. Mississippi State, man, you got to establish Fluff Bothwell. You got to establish the transfer running back from South Alabama. He had a big night against Tennessee. Stop the run. We already know Texas A&M has a bevy of backs. Le'Veon Moss, Amari Daniels. I don't have to keep saying them. Reuben Owens. The 3 running backs, the 3-headed monster. Hit a deep shot to Brendan Thompson or 2. Brendan Thompson, your speedster. You got to get him involved down the field. Contain Marcel Reed legs, and you got to force some turnovers to get that crowd out of it. Now, you Texas A&M, establish the run. Like I said, you got the bevy of backs. Marcel Reed can use his legs. He's very effective on the ground. Pressure Blake Shapen. Strike first. You're at Cal Field, home of the 12th man. You strike first, get that crowd going with that defense. It's going to be a long night. Get Mario Craver and Casey or Kevin Concepcion on the ball and get off the field on 3rd downs. With that defense, you got to get off the field on 3rd downs. They didn't allow Auburn to it. I think that Auburn went over on 3rd down. So that's huge. But my winner is Texas A&M. Y'all know how I feel about Texas A&M. 12th man, Cal Field is a tough environment to play in, and Texas A&M is tough to beat at home. You add that into the fact that Mississippi State just lost a heartbreaker. They probably still thinking about that game. Texas A&M defense is ridiculous. I'm going with the Aggies at home in this one. In the last game, I got for y'all some ACC after dark matchup. Shout out Dave. He said go Canes. We got Duke at Cal, 10:30 on ESPN. Cal is actually 2.5-point dogs at home. So Duke is 2.5-point favorites. Duke, you got to start fast. I say that every week, man, because they just don't start fast. You got to start fast. Establish the run. You got to stop. Turbo Richard had a day against Cal. Running backs normally have a good day against Cal. You got to establish the run. Win the turnover battle. You got to win the turnover battle. Because I think both teams might turn the ball over. So you just got to turn the ball over less than the other. Receivers have to step up again. Excuse me. Against this Cal defense, CJ Harris, he had a day last week for Boston College. Which receivers going to step up for Duke? And run Darian Mensah, the quarterback. He has legs. You got to use him. Now, if you're Cal, run Kendrick Garfield, the running back, who also had a day last week against Boston College. Make Duke start slow. Protect the football. Jerron Kiawe Sagaputele. Got to protect the football. No fumbles. Got to protect that ball. Force third and long. Duke's not a team that's going to consistently convert on third and long. And protect Jerron Kiawe Sagaputele. The reason why I say that is because that man is just deadly accurate with the football. If you give him time, you give him protection, you give him a clean pocket, he will deliver an accurate football. So with that being said, though, I am taking Cal as a underdog to win this game. I think Cal is just a bit more potent on offense. I like the fact that it's at Cal, so Duke may have a little jet lag, time zone differences, late night game, Cal in Berkeley. All those things can be a factor. So I'm gonna take Cal in this game with the travel and everything. And now we gotta do poll talks. I definitely forgot to do it at the beginning of the show. But those are the 12 games I have going for this week. Now let's get into the polls of college football. Like I said, obviously number 1 is Ohio State. Number 2, jumping from 6 to 2 is Oregon after the win against Penn State. I do think Miami should have stayed at 2, if we're being completely honest. Number 3 is Miami. Number 4 is Ole Miss, jumping up 9 spots, beating LSU. I think that's too big of a jump. Home win against a very unconvincing LSU team. I think that's too big of a jump. Number 5 is Oklahoma, jumping up from 7. I think Oklahoma should be in front of Ole Miss at the current moment. Texas A&M is 6 from 9. I'm cool with that. Penn State went from 3 to 7. I like what had no. Penn State at 7. I'm fine with it. Indiana at 8. I'm cool with. They jumped up from 11. Texas at 9 is where I have a problem. Texas should not be in the top 10. If it wasn't for the name Texas, if it wasn't for the hype coming into the year, they would not be in the top 10. Offense, again, has been very lackluster. They lost to Ohio State, putting up 7 points. The defense is phenomenal. Won't take that away. But the offense is not to where you would have them top 10. Top 15, top 20, possibly. Top 10, no. Speaking of 10, I would have Bama in front of Texas at 10. Great win against Georgia. I haven't said Georgia. I would have Georgia in front of Texas. I would have Texas Tech in front of Texas, which Texas Tech is at 11. Georgia's at 12. They dropped back 7 spots in the Bama loss. That's kind of crazy. I wouldn't, but whatever. LSU dropped back. So basically, they swapped Ole Miss and LSU. LSU's at 13. I would probably drop back LSU a little bit further. Offensively, again, with Texas, very lackluster. I know if it wasn't for the name LSU, if it wasn't for the hype, they would not be 13. So that's another thing, gripe I have there. 14, Iowa State, fine with. 15, Tennessee, fine with, didn't move at all. Vanderbilt moves up to 16, love that. Georgia Tech drops 1 spot to 17, fine with that. That was a trap game spot on the road. They've pulled it out. Florida State drops 10 spots to 18, fine with that. Missouri moves up to 19. Michigan drops back to 20, so they flip-flop Michigan and Missouri. Love that. Anytime Michigan gets slapped, I love it. Notre Dame moves up to 21. Okay. 22 is Illinois. Okay. 23 is BYU. Like that. In a win last night. 24 is Virginia. I don't know. That was a big win, though. Big win. Top 10 school. I'll take it. But they're probably going to get knocked right back out. And 25 is Arizona State. Love that. Arizona State back in the top 25. I think Arizona State is well-deserved of a top 25 school ranking. I do think TCU is going to get back ranked. I would love to see them get back ranked, but they lost last week at 24, so it makes sense why they're out of the rankings. Essentially, in the 26th spot out of votes is South Florida with 53, which I'm very surprised about that. I did not think South Florida had a chance to get ranked again. But again, they're right out there. Utah's 27, Mississippi State 28, Memphis 29, Louisville 30. I don't like the fact that I don't see TCU to like 6 votes. TCU should be up there. They lost a big game on the road against Arizona State in a game which they was up for most of it. TCU deserves to be ranked. I think they will be ranked yet again later on in the year, but I think they get a little disrespected. But that is it for the polls. That is it for my episode. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hopefully we have a great day of college football today. I'm excited. I just can't wait. Again, shout out Dukes. Happy birthday. Games kick off in about 40 minutes, so get your snacks, everything together. Michigan State does play today. I did not talk about it. I do think we lose. Just side note, I had us losing in the preseason in Nebraska, on the road in Nebraska. I think we lose. Hopefully we win though. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I mean that just is what it is. And go Tigers, man. Hopefully they pull out the dub against the Mariners. But that's all I got for y'all today. I will be back maybe tomorrow morning, maybe not, to talk about the recap of this week in college football week 6. But I'm gone.